Now, we knew coming into this meeting with Newcastle it was Liverpool's 5th game in just 15 days, and you may have seen the quotes from Virgil van Dijk ahead of this one saying that Liverpool, he and his teammates absolutely needed the crowd behind them to help get them over the line, given that such a tough run that they've been on. And so I expected this to be a bitty and a difficult game whereby Liverpool just needed to get over the line. It didn't necessarily matter about the performance, but it was all about getting the points on board. And yet instead of that kind of bitty, difficult performance, what we actually got was total control from minute one and a fuss-free 2-0 win for Liverpool that extends their lead at the top of the Premier League to 13 points. And it's weird, really. It feels just as the fixture schedule and everything has kind of come up against them and made things a lot more difficult for them. It just seems like Liverpool have kind of hit another gear. They've clicked up. They've kind of reminded everyone again that this is the best team in Europe at the moment. And that's been difficult because there've been tough moments in this run that they've been on. There's been that little wobble where they get a couple of draws, Everton, Aston Villa, and everyone started questioning whether Liverpool are going to go on the slide or whether the second half of the season is going to be more difficult. But there's absolutely nothing of the sort, particularly in these last two performances, Manchester City and Newcastle. I think they've just, as I say, reminded everyone just how good this side is, really. And you look at the statistics from the game here, they really do underline just how in control Liverpool were against, by the way, a very threatening Newcastle side. I know their form has been a little bit up and down this season, but the quality that they've got on the pitch, they can hurt absolutely anyone, particularly with the pace they've got on the break as well, away from home. And yet Liverpool just managed that absolutely beautifully today. I mean, the shots count is 12-3 in Liverpool's favour, shots on target 3 for Liverpool, none for Newcastle, so completely controlled them. And expected goals again shows that they just totally limited Newcastle. 1.51 expected goals for Liverpool and 0.21 for Newcastle. And I think I talk a lot about game state, and I spoke about that actually in the last video, and I think Liverpool's expected goals for would possibly have been a little bit higher had they needed it to be in this game. It felt like had they wanted to cut Newcastle open more frequently, they would have done it. And yet, because they score early again, Dominik Szoboszlai's goal, I think, is the 11th minute, it just means it gives them the chance to really manage the game and kind of just hold Newcastle at arm's length. And that's absolutely what they did. They just managed their threat, kept the ball, were patient about it, and kept probing Newcastle, looking for that second goal. And what I loved in that period of the game, actually, I mean, it's a long period really from the first goal until the second one, is that patience. And what you were seeing is, I was speaking to my colleague next to me, Matt Ladson, as well about this, is that you were seeing that they make the extra pass, don't they? Sometimes when Liverpool were winning the ball under Jurgen Klopp, particularly in that last season when it got a bit hectic, that was the style of football they really lent into. They were a little bit too much in a rush to get the ball forward whenever they won it. But there was a moment here where they win it in midfield and they just, little exchange of passes, really neat and short, just to make sure they've got settled possession. And then they push Newcastle back and they probe and they look for the gaps and they try to score goals that way. So it's really, really good to see them do that, because what that gives you, obviously it maybe gives you less chance to score in an immediate counter-attack, but it prevents Newcastle from hurting you in the counter, because if you aren't set when you start your attack, that gives them every chance of winning the ball back, and then all of a sudden you're very disorganised and they can score. And it just never looked like that could happen, because they have threats as well. Anthony Gordon, his pace, his ability, they've got quality in midfield to fire those balls through. Callum Wilson is a very capable striker. Liverpool just did not give them a sniff, and and they knew if they remained patient, if they did keep probing in the way that they were, that their moment would come. And it absolutely did come when McAllister thrashes home that goal and basically sets off kind of party time in Anfield at that moment, because I think everybody here knew what the Nottingham Forest Arsenal result had ended 0-0, and that Liverpool were going to move 13 points clear at the top, which is just crazy to say, because we're in February, and I mean, who would have predicted that we would be in this position at this time of the season? Only 10 games to go, but it is still February, and Arne Slot's Liverpool are 13 points clear, miles ahead of City, miles ahead of Arsenal. And let's be honest, they are going to win the Premier League this season. I think we can say that now and completely be confident in that fact. I mean, is there anybody out there who doesn't think they will win it? I know there were a few out there after the Aston Villa game and the Everton game who maybe didn't think they were going to win it and thought Arsenal would get on and run. Surely now everybody believes that Liverpool are going to lift the Premier League title this season. And I think one thing I want to say about that as well is that I think that Liverpool have got themselves in this position this run of games, this 5 games, has been absolutely crucial to that. It's basically, I said at the start of this run that it's not a run where Liverpool could lose the Premier League title because they already had a cushion over Arsenal, but it felt like a run where Liverpool could win the Premier League title, and that is absolutely how it's played out. And I think why I think the fans should be proud is because you look at those fixtures on paper. If anyone had said to me beforehand Liverpool would take more than 10 points, I think you'd be happy with that. And what they got in the end was 11 out of 15, which is very, very good. And I know there were concerns after the Villa game, after the Everton game, and they gave themselves a lot to do, didn't they? They needed to win the City and the Newcastle games back to back to make sure that points haul was above 10. But they did it in the end, and they did it with 2 very, very good performances. And I think the performance level in general over this run has been very good, particularly when you consider that the games have been coming thick and fast. It's 3 away games in there, 3 really tricky away games. This was the point of the season where Liverpool was supposed to slip up. Nothing like that. What we actually saw was Liverpool just putting the foot down and showing everybody they are the team that wants this trophy, and they are, for me, the team, well, they are for everyone, the team that is going to win this trophy. Now, I talk about work rate there and about how much they put into this run. And so when I go into individual performances here, there's only one place to start, and it is, of course, Dominik Szoboszlai. I mean, I was kind of questioning in the build-up to this, and anyone who watched my press conference video will know, I was asking whether, could he really play again? Would he be able to? Is it time for rotation in that midfield, given how much he's put in recently? Not only did he played yet again another 90 minutes, and I just cannot get over how good his work rate is, the engine he's got on him, and the ability to do that day after day after day, and week in, week out. And it's incredible, really. It shows, I think, the professionalism and how much he must put into his recovery, that he's able and he's trusted to go in and do this again. I mean, the sports science staff, the medical team here will be very careful about muscle injuries, will be concerned about that. But they obviously know that Dominik Szoboszlai looks after himself. He does the recovery, he does all that work to allow him to go again and again. And I thought it was incredible again, the distance he covered in this game. There's one moment where Newcastle looked like they're about to get a counter-attack. They kind of have numbers in that counter-attack as well, where he just gets back, and he doesn't win the ball. Newcastle keep possession, but he slows them down. He runs them, he forces the ball down certain lanes so that they have to move the ball into the defence, and then all of a sudden Liverpool are completely set, and that is all down to Dominik Szoboszlai. And what, that work rate has been there since the start of the season. We've been crediting that for a long time, but he also has as well now, and we are starting to see more of, is what he can contribute going forward. And I think what we're seeing in these last couple of games is a player who's full of confidence and now believes he can influence games going forward in the Premier League and do it on a consistent basis. I mean, some of the takes of the ball when he's moving at speed are just breathtaking. Some of the passes he's picking now, he's making better decisions in the final third, and that shows in the numbers. I mean, 3 shots and 2 chances created. Obviously he gets another goal, and it's a crucial one, so he just really is getting even better in the final third, added into everything else he does, which includes 8 out of 10 ground duels won. And it was just a dominant midfield performance, because Newcastle are strong in there as well. The likes of Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, they've got quality in there, and Liverpool just ran all over them today, which doesn't happen very often. And I think Szoboszlai now, obviously he's put so much work in recently, he's going to get a deserved weekend off now, and I really hope he puts his feet up and settles down and has a cup of tea and just doesn't even move for a little bit, because he absolutely earned that with the amount of work he's put in recent games. And in terms of other individual performances, I just want to pick out Mohamed Salah as well. I mean, I picked these 2 out of the Etihad, but I think we have to again acknowledge just how good they are. And to be honest, for Salah, it's not so much his kind of individual performance here. I mean, I just think I thought he was kind of kept quiet for the most part. I thought Lewis Hall, the Newcastle left back, had an excellent game. What a player he is, by the way. Really been impressed by him. And he, if Liverpool are looking at a left back, maybe he's someone they look at, albeit he is a Newcastle fan. He's only a couple of years into his contract, so I'll probably look elsewhere. But he is a very, very good player, I will say that, and dealt with Salah as well as I've seen anyone. But the thing is with Salah is he just will not, even if he's not absolutely dominating his fullback, he will not let the game pass without influencing it in some way and making sure he gets his goal contribution. And of course he did that in setting up McAllister for his goal. And what I loved about that, he just shows great patience, doesn't he? He gets the ball, he's waiting for the gap to open, waiting for the Newcastle defence to move so that space for McAllister, lays it on a plate. McAllister absolutely thrashes it home. I mean, Salah's influence in the final third is just a joke, and I really am running out of superlatives, so pointless me even trying again to describe how good this guy is. But one point I do want to make actually is that he's now on 17 assists in this Premier League season. Now, you may know that the record for assists in a single Premier League season is 20, which is jointly held by De Bruyne and Thierry Henry. Salah is now on 17 and he's got 10 games to go. I'm pretty certain he will know about that record and he will be desperate to break it. And I think with 10 games to go, he's got every chance of doing that. I mean, it really is. At 17, it's unbelievable what he's done so far, and there's so many more games to come, so many opportunities for him to create goals, and I'm sure he will take, he only has to take 4 of those for him to set a new record. And I think it would sum up his all-round game that he once broke the Premier League scorers record, didn't he, which Haaland has subsequently took off him, but he now has a real chance to break the assisters record, and that tells you really how much of a kind of all-round threat he is and what a world-class player he is. As I say, don't want to get into describing him, it's pointless. I've said too much already about how good this guy is and I'm running out of words. And I just want to give a little bit of credit as well to one more player here, which is Luis Diaz. I thought he restored to that left wing position. It's obviously more natural for him. He obviously has more fun out there than he does when he's in that central position, which is a bit of a graveyard shift. And again, so much work back he did to help the left back, sometimes in the left back position, winning the ball at one point tonight as well, but also creatively thought he was fantastic tonight. 5 chances created, which is more than anybody else in the match, and also 4 dribbles, again more than anybody else in the match. So he's a real threat down that left hand side, but he's restored to his natural position. And it's an interesting one actually, that competition he has with Gakpo. We would have said a few weeks ago he has that position nailed down, but now he's obviously missed a couple of games, hasn't he, through injury. He's on the bench for this one, and now Jota's back, so he can start in that central role. Really, really fascinated to see what the manager does, because he does like Jota in that central role. He likes his pressing. I thought he did well in that aspect today as well, and obviously he is one of the best finishers, so you kind of want to get him on the pitch as much as you can. So what is the manager going to do for the PSG game that comes up? What's he going to do for the League Cup final? Really, really interested to see how that one goes. But of course, as we always say, that's a really, really good headache for any manager to have. Now I'm going to wrap it up there anyway. I mentioned earlier, of course, that Liverpool, Dominik Szoboszlai in particular, are now going to get the weekend off, and they absolutely deserve it. But I also think that I do as well. So I'm really looking forward to the fact that Liverpool aren't playing this weekend. No press conference tomorrow, on Friday, sorry. No game on Saturday or Sunday. So really, really glad of that after this grueling run, because it's a busy one for us as well. Press conference match. So I'm going to very much enjoy that, and I hope you all do as well. A chance to put your feet up and enjoy this 13-point lead that Liverpool have got at the top of the league. But in the meantime, I want to hear your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game. Really interested to hear those, and how happy are you about Liverpool's position in the Premier League at the moment, and how you're feeling about that PSG game coming up. And of course, if you can drop me a like and a subscribe, really, really appreciate it. But I will be back for the build-up to Paris Saint-Germain tie. Really, really looking forward to that. I'll see you guys then.